Well, I kind of took a risk buying this machine. This is a 2004 Suzuki LTZ400. And I guess it's been sitting for like 10 years. So the seller that sold it to me bought it from a guy that had it in the back of his garage. I guess he parked it for whatever reason, probably because it wouldn't start. And it's been sitting there 10 years. The seller was going to do a quick flip on it, make a little bit of money. And he said he got back home and could not get it to run. So then he sold it to me, and he said good luck with it. So that's all he knows about it. That's all I know about it. And he turned it over for me. It sounds pretty good, but does not start. So I don't hear any knocking in there at all. And the engine spins smooth. So I'm hoping we can get lucky and it will just be like something simple, like a spark plug or a carb clean, but you never know. It could need a full engine rebuild. But I paid $1,600 for this thing, so it was quite a bit of money for this thing. But these in my area are going for like $2,400. But this thing is almost immaculate. The plastics are perfect. The seat is perfect, no rips in the seat. Has heated grips. It's got the DG Steel Series Nerf bars on there. Engine is super clean. I guess the head was ported at one point, the seller said. Original wheels and tires on there still. So I don't think it's a very high hour machine. I think it's sat most of its life. But yeah, shocks are really clean. Paint looks good. I mean, none of the paint's really rubbed off on the frame here. Engine paint looks perfect. I mean, you don't see that every day with a 2004 quad. Sprockets look good. Has the parking brake on there still. Looks to be all completely stock except for the head. So today's goal is to get this thing running and driving. I've never seen one this clean, actually. It's a pretty nice quad. I think these are for the hand warmers right here. So let's see if anything turns on. I think the battery's dead. Yeah. Which is to be expected after sitting 10 years. Everything's pretty much spotless. I mean, it looks pretty nice. Right off the bat, I like to check the air filter. Make sure there's no mice living in here. I mean, look at how nice that seat is. Original seat cover. I think it's perfect. Alright, so it looks like the person that owned it before me cleaned out the air box. That looks pretty clean. Probably use a little bit of oil, but it does look like that's all cleaned out, so that saves us a little time. Solenoid's hooked up, battery's hooked up. We might throw a different battery in there for now so we can test it out. But yeah, everything looks really clean. Look how nice everything looks. It doesn't look like anything's been taken off of it before. There is a new carb in there. So the owner before me said he tried to swap a new carb in. The old carb is over here, which we're probably going to use the original carb. This is the original one. We might throw that one back on. You can kind of see it through here. Here's the dipstick for the oil tank. Let's see what that looks like. Ooh, smells like straight gas. Yeah, that smells really bad. It's really thin, so gas is probably dumping right into that oil. It smells like straight gas. So I think the first thing we're gonna do is drain out that oil. See what that looks like. Make sure it's not milky. and kind of go from there. Looks like the drain is right there. There's a bolt for the engine. And then over here, looks like there's a drain plug right here for the oil tank. Here. Ooh, it looks like straight gas coming out of there. That's pretty gross looking. Really thin. See how thin that is? Oil has a thicker viscosity than gas. It looks like there wasn't much in there either. It's not milky. I don't see any metal chunks. Now that's just pouring out. There's a lot in there. You can see the fuel separating from the oil. There's so much fuel in there. Wow, that's a lot of oil. That's way overfilled. Alright, you can see just how thin this oil is. So there's a lot of gas mixed with that oil. So I'm guessing the carburetor's flooding out, or maybe that float height is wrong. But something's not turning off the fuel and it's going right directly into the engine. Alright, so I put a couple quarts of oil in there. We'll probably change it again later in the video, just to make sure all that fuel's out of there. But I want to just make sure this thing turns on, all the lights work, and that it actually turns over. Alright. Neutral light works. Oil light works. I'm guessing lights only work when machine is on. Let's it's on reserve, we're getting fuel. Let's take the choke off, see if she fires up. No, it just spins. Almost sounds like low compression to me. It's turning over pretty fast. See what that coolant looks like in here. If there's any in here. Oh yeah, there's some in there. It's hard to see. Alright, now we've got access to the valve cover there. Spark plug carburetor. Everything looks good here. Let's get that spark plug boot out of there. We'll check if it's getting spark here. Plug is absolutely soaked with gas. Look at that. That's a lot of gas in that plug. Look at that. Huh. And it's pretty black, so it's been running pretty rich for a while. So that could be the no start issue. Let's see if it has spark. Let's see if we get anything here. Alright, we're getting great spark. Check this out though. Is that coolant or gas? Tons of gas or coolant just coming up through the cylinder there. I think it was fuel. It smells like gas. Yeah, it really smells like gas. So I think the carb is flooding out really bad. I'm surprised that wasn't hydrolocking. There's a lot of gas in there. Wonder if the whole pipe is full of it too. But yeah, we can check compression next. I really don't like how easy that turns over. Let's see what we get here. Let's see, where can I put it? So according to the manual, it's supposed to have 142 pounds of compression with the decompression mechanism in there. So the way it sits right now, we should have 140. If it's lower than that, it's either going to be a scored cylinder and piston rings are worn, or the valves are not closing properly, which would mean the valve clearances are not within spec. So let's see what happens. Here we go, throttle open. That's not good. That's pretty bad. We're only getting 30 psi. We'll put a stronger jumper on and see if that helps, but I don't think it will. All right, we've got a stronger jumper. Hook that up. All right, here we go, throttle open. Turn on, throttle open. Yeah. Not much more. .45 psi. So compression is way too low. All right, we definitely have low compression. I'm thinking it's the valves, hopefully. So let's get the valve cover off and take a peek at those. This comes off with 3 bolts right here. There's one. There's 2. One more back here. This whole valve cover should come off. Yeah. There we go. Gasket came off with it. Looks good. Here. Puking out gas here. It looks like it has upgraded cams in there, actually. Maybe hot cams? It's hard to tell. They look like hot cams to me. See if the cam chain's tight. That's tight enough. The lobes look good. Kind of hard to see with all the cables in the way here. Yeah, no metal shavings up there or anything. So that looks pretty decent. Alright, let's get this thing to top dead center so we can check the valves. Alright, to get to the crank bolt, it's going to be right here. It's going to be a 10mm. Zip that off. Easier said than done. I don't think that's been off for a while. Rip this out. There we go. Breaker bar always works. Again, that one hasn't been off in a while. Breaker bar for that one. See if we can pop it free here. Holy man. Oh, that's gonna strip out. Shoot. Oh. We're gonna hit it with some quick heat here. Not using a torch because a bunch of gas spilled here. Don't want the thing going up in flames. At least not yet. Yeah, it's stripping right out. Darn. Finally got this to budge. We took a hammer, pounded that way. You can see the big gouge or the plug here. But it finally budged. Now we just have to get it the rest of the way out here. Let's see, how am I gonna do this? It's coming. There we go. So you see, we had to pound on the side of it there to knock that free. These always strip out. Poor design. Especially after sitting for years and years. They just get really, really hardened up there. So at least we got it out without breaking the cover here. Here, rotate this counterclockwise until we see the mark. In here, you can see a T with a line. That's tapped at center. So the lobes are going to be pointing out. See how that lobe's pointing towards the exhaust, this one's pointing towards the intake. That's how you should be. Let's see if timing's correct on the cam sprocket. Are there any timing marks on there? It says in right here, IN, and this one says exhaust there, but there's no timing marks besides that dot, which is pretty close. You can see the EX right there. So timing is pretty darn close. Maybe a little bit off, maybe 1 tooth off, if anything. But this has adjustable cam timing. You can see this bolt affects the timing. So that might be done purposely. We're going to leave it for now. We can check the valves here and see what happens. So right now the valve should be completely closed. Alright, specs for the intake for the LTZ400 is going to be 4 thousandths to 8 thousandths of an inch. Exhaust is going to be 8 thousandths to like about 12 thousandths of an inch. So let's do the intake first. We're hoping they're tight. That one slid in. That one slid in. Uh-oh. It's not good at all. All right. So the intake aren't tight. Those feel perfect. Oh, what the heck? What's going on? All right, check the exhaust here. Please be tight. Nope. Uh-oh. So valves are completely closing. Huh. It's gotta be that piston and ring then. Wow. I was expecting this to be an easy fix. I paid a lot for this thing. Not good. So at this point, it's either a bent valve or the piston and rings being stuck, or piston and cylinder are scored up. But it's not the valve clearances. All right, we're gonna put some oil down the cylinder and see if that compression shoots up. So if it shoots up, we know it's the rings. Blew it off. Oh, it's shooting way up here. You know what? Maybe the gas just took away all the oil from the cylinder and prevented those rings from sealing. Seems like we're getting pretty good compression now. That's like really good. Because it seemed like it went to 50, then it just shot way up. Like those rings were sealing again once we put the oil down there. So what I'm thinking is happening is that the carburetor is flooding out, dumping gas down the cylinder, washing all the oil away past the rings. So when the rings try to seal to the cylinder wall, nothing is sealing properly and compression's escaping. That's kind of my theory. Because we put a little bit of oil down there and that shot up to 125 for PSI. So either the rings are super stuck or they just got washed away by that gas, which I've seen happen before. So it must have been just dumping a ton of fuel down that cylinder. All right, so this is the cheap China carb on here. We're gonna take this one off and see why it's flooding out. And then we'll probably put the other one back in after we clean that one. Because I don't trust these carbs. Alright, that came off pretty easily. Alright, looks like we've got the throttle cable to contend with here. Either that might be clogged. Let's see if the breather was clogged. Nope. Let's see if this one was. Nope. All right. Looks like this broke off. It's missing the little ball. There we go. Why was this carb flooding out? Let's take a peek. So a couple different reasons why a carb would flood out. A lot of times the O-ring gasket on the seat is worn out. The float height could be wrong, or the needle isn't seating properly to the seat. Or float could be getting stuck too. This is a brand new carb though, so it doesn't really make sense. Look, I mean, really clean. Float looks like it might not be shutting off completely. Yeah, float height might be a little bit big. That might be the problem right there. Let's take a look. Or a little piece of debris could get caught between the needle and seat there. The seat looks clean. That's not the problem. We've got a 60 for the little starter jet. That was clear. Here's the main jet coming out. It's also clear. We've got a 430 for the main jet. And then we've got the pilot in here. And for the pilot, we've got a 22.5. And that was clear. So everything was clear. One, two, about 2.5 on the fuel screw. That came out. So that didn't look too bad. I'm thinking it was the float height, probably needed to be adjusted. Or a little piece of debris maybe got caught in there at one point and kept that needle from seating properly. But we are going to put that carb off to the side and take a look at the original. Alright, here's the original carb. Yeah, it's pretty crusty in there. A lot of old gas. So we probably need the ultrasonic cleaner for this one. Here's the main jet. It's clear. Yeah, needle was stuck in there. You can see the float height on this one is a little bit different than this one. This one's down further, see that? This one was up higher. Pilot out. Yeah, that's heavily clogged. 1.5 on that one. On the China carb, it was set at 2.5. There's a little O-ring in there. Yeah, the seat looks pretty crusty. There we go. You can see there's the seat. There's that O-ring that goes bad right there. There's a little filter there too. But yeah, that's pretty crusty. So we're gonna let that sit in the ultrasonic cleaner as well. Try to clean that up a bit. spring looks good. Oh yeah, diaphragm looks really good. Not seeing any rips or anything. Perfect. Alright, so this can go right in the ultrasonic cleaner. Alright, we got the ultrasonic cleaner set up here. We're using simple green cleaner. So let's get the carb in. Got all the jets and everything in there. Let's dump that in. Whole carburetor can just go right in. Cover can go on. And then we'll set it for 30 minutes. Alright, the ultrasonic cleaner made quick work of the carburetor. Looks really clean. All the jets came out really clean. I didn't even clean this out after. That's how it came out of the ultrasonic cleaner. So, really took everything off that carb. So we can put everything back together. Work on the seat here. This needs a little bit of work. So that O-ring is really hardened up on there. Let's get that off. Let's see how brittle that is. It's all cracking. Alright, new O-ring installed. I like to put a dab of oil on that. Just a dab. Alright, this carb also came with a kit for the choke. We replaced that, and then the throttle tube right here was broken. So we replaced that. So carb is all good to go. Let's get that back on. Let's drain out this gas tank here. Carb is back installed. We got the gas tank on. Put new gas lines on it just in case the gas line was breaking apart and going into the carb, causing that needle to get stuck into the seat. So we did that. We're going to replace the oil. So we drained this again. I put a little oil in there last time. And we flushed it out again. So there shouldn't be any more fuel in there. So according to the manual, this takes 2.2 to 2.3 quarts. We'll do a quart and a half and then try to run this thing, get it pumped through the system, and then do another quart about. So we'll put 2.3 quarts in. Alright, then we'll check it after that, after we run it for a bit, if this thing will fire up. Alright, so on the petcock there's reserve, prime, and on. Those are the settings. So prime will allow gas to flow through to the carb without the pump. You can see it's filling up. Let's see if the carb leaks. So far it's not leaking. Alright, we'll put it to reserve. Alright, hopefully it doesn't flood out the engine here. Alright, here we go, moment of truth. Will it have enough compression to fire up? We will see right now. We're going to choke it, and then quickly turn off the choke if it fires up so we don't flood it out. Uh-oh, nothing. Let's try to get a faster jumper on there. See if we can crank it over fast enough to get this thing to fire. Not good. We're gonna try putting some oil down the cylinder. Try this again. All right, let's see how wet the plug is. Plug is sopping wet. Huh. Very weird. Right, throttle open. We're getting like 100 PSI, so it's not that low. Should start. Maybe the spark plug is full. Holy, that was a ton of fuel in there. It's just dumping fuel into the cylinder. What is going on with that? That is really weird. Look at how wet this cylinder is. All right, new spark plug, oil down the cylinder. See what happens. Wanted to go. You hear it puff over. Let's see if the plug's really wet again. So what we're trying to do is run this thing out of gas so that it doesn't flood out the cylinder and it has the possibility of starting up. So let's try it again. We took the spark plug out, added more oil. See what happens. She fired up, so I knew it was flooding out. So it was just not enough compression when the gas floods it out, and the spark couldn't keep up probably. So yeah, I think when we hook up the gas tank again, it's gonna flood out again. Alright, so it looks like the engine is flooding out with too much gas, and I'm trying to figure out why it's doing that. The carb is not leaking as it's sitting here, so I know that the float and the needle are working and it's shutting off the fuel. So really the only thing it could be is the vacuum line is pressurizing the carb and sending too much fuel to the cylinder. All right, we found the problem. Check this out. You put it to prime, gas is coming out of the pump here. So something is broken in the petcock. That's why that's not working. So we're gonna cap off that little nipple right there. That was going directly into the vacuum line and flooding out the carb. That's why it wasn't running. So we found the problem. That's good. But we can cap that off and just run it on prime for now. All right, no longer leaking. We got that capped off. Let's see if she fires up. Yep, fired right up, so that was the problem. So, it looks like the petcock needs to be rebuilt. Quad is filled up with oil. Let's run this for a bit, see if it smokes. No smoke yet. Sounds pretty good. The aftermarket valves are what you're hearing. A little chattery, but those were perfectly within spec. Yeah, no smoke at all. Wow. All right, we got a brand new battery for it. Let's put that in there. So, $100 battery. Put that in. See if it fires up with the new battery. Let's go give this thing a test drive. All right, made it up to the land for the first test drive on the 2004 LTZ400. So apparently this thing was ported, and it looks like there's new cams in there. So we might have to jet it based on that. So we put the original jets back in. I think I had a 150 in there and the original car before this, so we'll see. The airbox lid is off as well, so we might have to rejet it to that as well. But we're gonna see how it runs first, and then we brought the jet kit along, so we can always change out those jets. Alright, here we go, first ride. Look how easy that starts now. If it's in warm up for that. Felt like it ran out of gas there. This thing runs pretty good. Wow. Not bad. It's definitely cammed for higher end, for sure. It's got plenty of torque, but on the top end, it's really, really fast. And I think it's jetted pretty close. Doesn't seem like it's starving for fuel. It's not backfiring or bogging. So I'm just gonna leave it like that at the stock jetting. We don't have an aftermarket pipe on there, and I'm really not sure if it's ported. The previous owner said that, but I don't know for a fact. So I think we're gonna leave the jetting there. It seems to be running pretty good. But yeah, I'm really surprised it runs as good as it does. All the brakes work, the clutch works perfectly, everything works on it perfectly. So we got that chain adjusted. That's perfect, not moving at all. Tires are holding air. So we got really lucky on this one. I'm sure the seller thought it was low compression, put a gauge in there, and was like, oh, it probably needs a rebuild, so that's why he sold it. And luckily, it does not need a rebuild. All right, well, this thing is running great. I found on eBay the kit for the petcock. That's what it looks like. So I'm guessing the diaphragm right there was ripped and fuel was just flowing right through and causing it to flood out. So we're gonna order up this kit. It is 15 bucks, so not too bad. And then we'll install that and this thing should be good to go. One other thing that is not working, check this out. The lights. I don't know why. We'll have to investigate that too. But reverse does work on it as well, so that's good. So the only thing that's not working are the lights and the petcock. And that's the only thing wrong with this machine. So we got extremely lucky getting this thing for 1,600 bucks. I thought for sure it was gonna be low compression, but it turned out to be the carb flooding out into the engine causing the low compression. So once we got rid of that, compression went up and this thing fired up. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, picking this thing up for 1,600 bucks, going through and diagnosing the whole thing and finding out the issue. You don't see that issue very often with the quads flooding out like that. So it was definitely new to me. And I didn't know compression could be that low if gas was in the cylinder. That is crazy. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video. And until next time, we are out.